next segment of panel discussion. And it gives me immense pleasure to introduce the next subject of the panel discussion. It's something that all of us will look forward to because the subject is giving a new direction to Indian PR. And as we know, a lot of PR strategists are here in the room. So I'm sure this interests all of us. And to lead the session on stage, I would request all of you to please welcome Madhurima Bhatia, Media Engagement and Partnership Lead, Ipsos India and APEC. Can we have a huge round of applause for Madhurima Bhatia? Welcome, ma'am. Welcome on board. To join Madhurima, we have panel members Shagun Sharma, Communication Head, Teamology. Please put your hands together for Shagun Sharma. Next up, we have Sonal Singh, Head Corp.Com, Jindal Stainless. Please put your hands together for Sonal Singh. Welcome on board, ma'am. Tripti Pandey, AVP, Corporate Communications, MamaEarth. Can we please have Tripti Pandey on stage? Welcome. Joining them will be Varun Gupta, Head D2C Business, Hero Vired. Can we please have a huge round of applause for Varun Gupta? Varun Gupta, can we please have you on stage? Next up, we have Prachi Sharma, Head PR, Cars 24. Please give it up for Prachi Sharma. Welcome on board, Prachi. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I hope nobody's feeling sleepy after that lavish lunch. So I'm sure everybody's wide awake. Okay, so we've got a very nice topic, which is giving a new direction to Indian PR. So before I introduce you to our experts, I'm going to first give you a few quotes about the relevance of PR, which some of these senior honchos, global honchos have said. If I was down to my last dollar, I would spend it on PR. Can anybody guess who said that? Okay, it was Bill Gates. Yeah. This is by an unknown person, and he says, if you do not tell your story, someone else will, which I'm sure all of you, when you venture into PR, that's the first thing you get to hear. That's the first thing I was told when I joined this industry more than 2 decades ago. And then Richard Branson says it very well. He says, publicity is absolutely critical. A good PR story is definitely more effective than a front page ad. And Warren Buffett says it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So if you think about that, you will do things, so you should think about how you'll do things differently. And we're also going to talk about the 4 P's of PR, which is protect, promote, perform, and prove. Okay? Protect will be how you protect your turf while you do the visibility. How do you keep it away from negative publicity? Promote, how do you promote all your, for your business, for your brands, etc. Perform to see the ROI on the efficacy of your campaigns, and prove. That is measurement. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to our eminent panelists. On my extreme left is Prachi Sharma. She represents Cars 24. Then I have, one second, sorry. I have Tripti Pandey. She's from MamaEarth, though the holding company is called something else, which she'll tell us. Then we have Sonal Singh. She's from Jindal Stainless. And of course, then we have Shagun Sharma from Teamology. So a very diverse group of people, from FMCG, I represent a B2B brand, and then you have automotive, and then you have manufacturing. So without any further ado, let me first ask the first question. So what do you think, Prachi, what do you see? How do you see PR panning out in the next, say, 5 years?
Right. So PR is an ever-evolving landscape, right? We are very fast. We have a turnaround time which is very less. And the way I see Indian PR going, it's very important for brands to know who they are catering to, right? It's very important to understand their target audience, understand the segment they are reaching out to, and what the brand is all about.
Yes.
Apart from that, I think PR now, from a brand forward approach, we are taking a customer backward approach. Right? Anything and everything that customer understands, trusts, knows, I think brands need to strategize their PR strategy
Right.
according to that.
So, but what about the future in terms of how the company, uses PR? Do you see any kind of okay, what I'll do, we'll come to all that later. So, how do you see PR in the future? How do you see PR going in the future?
I think, like Prachi said, PR is a constantly evolving space, and I think calling it public relations, I think, is no longer relevant. It's just communicating with your consumers, and you need to communicate with them on the channels that they are present on formats they are consuming content on, because ultimately, public relations or corporate communications is storytelling. You need to communicate your story to your consumers and your stakeholders, and you need to communicate it on a channel where they are consuming it. So
Great.
it needs to be totally dynamic, and it changes with every brand, every sector, every format, and it is totally customizable now.
Yes.
It no longer is a standard strategy that can be deployed for any brand or any sector.
Right,
So I think it's a
great.
constantly evolving segment.
Excellent. So these two represent the B2C part of the business, and now we come to Sonal. Sonal, how about you for your company? How do you see PR changing, evolving? How do you see when you gaze the crystal ball? How do you see that changing?
So before that, allow me to just add one quotable quote to the PR list that you said. The only thing, the quote is, the only thing worse than being in negative news is not being in news. So yeah, three definitive changes I see in the future. First is the cost of data is so low and the proliferation of media is so high that we are going to live in an age of mass social activism. So going by the Bush doctrine, people today are of the view that if you're not with us, if you do not stand with any of the modern causes, whether it is wellness, whether it is, animal security, or whether
Right.
it is Pride March, or whatever it may be, if you're not doing anything, then you're against us. So
Yeah.
non-partisanship by brands, by companies are no longer a choice.
Right.
You cannot be perceived to be a company or a person that's neutral.
Yeah.
So standing for a cause has become very, very important, and all brands or people will have to endorse by it. That is one. Second is the fact that we'll have to move away from traditional PR,
Right.
giving it the weightage that we were giving, because now PR is moving slowly. Let's see how we make reputation. What is the
Excellent.
reputation builders for us? It's social media, it's Instagram, it's YouTube
Right.
Reels, it's Shorts, it's so many other things. So content creators, new age media, scroll, quint, all of it will be equally important as the TV and wire and the print used to be.
And taking a stand, like you said. Yeah. Excellent.
And the third one is
Yeah.
the fact that we'll have to measure and show results and show the direction to the management for PR to be
I will
able to
come
take.
I have a separate discussion for that. So quickly tell me, how about you? For somebody who is from the PR industry per se, so how do you see it?
So I think like PR is not just PR nowadays. So PR is a part of digital marketing, PR is a part of social media marketing, PR is a part of content marketing, and PR is also a part of influencer marketing. So it's just not limited to one field right now. Firstly, what PR was kind of restricted to was kind of publishing your articles and getting your coverages done. So now it's not only limited to that, and also integrated approach is I think is the word that we are looking forward to, because these all factors, all these fields are equally important in terms of PR, and what we need to move, like what we need to focus on is a holistic and an integrated approach that can cater to all these different fields of PR.
Excellent. Okay, so now I know where you're coming from. So, now that you've spoken about it, we are talking about two types of PR. We are talking about earned media and we're talking about owned media. So, looking at earned media, all the press coverage you get in the media using non-paid form of publicity. And own media is whatever you do on social media, or you do write your blogs, or you do your own podcasts. So, you know, the whole proliferation and the whole vistas that PR has now opened, it's a new world we live in now, and digital is equally a part of the main line. Now, what I'm going to come to is that, you know, when we look at, you know, digital, so how do you leverage, do you see potential, is digital a part of your integrated approach for each one of you?
Absolutely. Digital is a part of approach and we cannot be separate from it because
Yes.
your customers, internet and your mobile phone is just with everybody, right? So
Right.
news, your social media has taken, is just there, right? So
Right.
everything is digital. It is the future, but we can't let go of traditional completely. However, digital is something that customers, that brands need to adopt for their customers. And I'm not just talking about your news portals. I'm also talking about your social media. I'm also
Okay.
talking about your YouTube.
So,
Because
Prachi, I'll ask you to, you told me, ki, remind me when I take too much time. So, be as crisp as possible because we are really have many things to yet talk about. So, what about you? So you feel that there is a very
it is integrated with PR and
So-
digital is the future. It
so,
is.
you know, coming to what Prachi has said, suppose you know, when you write your press release and you give it to media, and when it is published, the same message has to go across, you know, consumer touch points. So whether it's social media, whether it is earned media, it's the same message because you're informing and then you're reinforcing the message. So does it work for you also for MamaEarth?
Absolutely.
You do the same thing?
Absolutely. So coming to the owned and earned piece, I think owned media really helps us to tell our story, and earned media helps us proliferate that messaging so that people are able to communicate our story forward. Because on your own channels, there is only that much reach that you have. It's limited to the consumers viewers that are watching that content piece. The moment you add the earned leg to it, is where the validation to the story, and second thing, proliferation of the story is where largely it happens.
Yeah, because, you know, amplifying your content, like I'm a part of a global team, and for me, amplifying the content is very, very important because, you know, we look at increasing our share of voice because you have some news, you share something, but then you also have to amplify content so that it gets seen by your key stakeholders. So coming to you, what do you do for own versus earned?
So just to add to what Tripti said,
Yes.
first of all, digital I don't think is a choice anymore.
Yes,
Digital is a necessity.
It is a part of the
Then
ecosystem.
the boundary lines between owned media and earned media are blurring. You know, social media is owned media for me, but
Yes.
Facebook will not promote any post without money being plunged into Facebook.
Absolutely.
So those lines are blurring, but at the same time, if you want to maximize digital media, the only way going forward will be to organize online and offline integration. Do experiences and events, which
Right.
can then be amplified on your online channels.
Yes. So, you know, those who are students here, you know, there is, you know, one second. I'm so very poor with names. Yeah, so, Shagun is talking about, you know, that there is a new opportunity for companies now to get their message out through, you know, you must have seen in newspapers a pull-out which says advertorial or promotions. At the same time, brands get to tell their story. So she comes from that part of the business where she gives opportunities to companies who cannot, you know, who do not otherwise would get hurt because they're not that big in the fray, and they would be very tiny in the complete scheme of things. So Shagun, what are you talking about? The new proposition?
So yes, so basically I think the dynamics have changed and
Okay.
drastically they have changed.
Okay.
So now a lot of startups have emerged.
Okay.
Now it's not only about the MNCs or we're not talking about the big brands here. We're talking about the small startups, the MSCs.
So you'll have to tell your story fast.
So yeah,
So you
sure,
just
definitely.
cut it to the main point, yeah.
So yeah, so what I basically want to say is that we are shifting towards, like we are kind of working towards automation, where we have created a fully automated process where you can write a story, you can publish that story on that portal. You can select the publication you want to get it covered on. Then your link will be live within 24 hours.
Okay.
You can see your link on the Google. You can type your
Right.
brand name on the Google. You can go to the news section, and your coverage or your press release or your feature story, that will be ranking on the top. Because we
Right.
are here talking about the technology, because PR is now more shifting towards AI, towards technology, towards automation.
So, what Shagun, right?
Yes.
What Shagun is saying that now PR, you can also, though her stories would carry that little caveat that these are promotions and these are advertising stories. These are not advertorials. Sorry. These are not. It's not earned media. It's not non-paid form of media. Clients have to pay for these stories, right?
Yes.
So there's a different new vista which is opening, which also, it serves the brand purpose. It serves purpose of companies who want to tell their stories, but nobody is going to publish them. Okay? So there is another vista which is opening. Now,
Madhurima, I would like to add a point here
Yes.
to earned and owned media. While your earned media is pushing, your own media is pulling, right? Because it's become a way of pulling your clients to your channels. For example, brands like MamaEarth, Nykaa, Zomato, Cars24, they do not just want to promote about themselves on their social media anymore. If you see the kind of way content has evolved, all these brands, all the leading startups, what they are now doing is creating information that will be helpful to the customers, right? So owned media is now about pulling the customers towards you and ensuring that they get the kind of content that would, add a little value to their life.
Right. And
Right?
it's also helped D2C brands a lot, right? Which are
True.
direct to customers.
Absolutely.
Especially. And you've seen, post-pandemic, also the dynamic of PR has changed. I head up the function in my company. I'm also part of the APEC team. I'm also part of the global team. So, for me, I can give you first-hand information on how PR has changed. Earlier, I could just send a press release and, I would get mass pickups. Now I have to keep pushing, and then, earlier we used to look at PTI and, INS. Now they won't just pick up your story and they'll say, sorry, I have no journalists. I have just kept my journalists for breaking news. I do not have so much bandwidth. The journalists actually plead on the phone saying, I don't have the bandwidth to do your story, please. It's not breaking, unless it is breaking news, please do not contact us. Or you just speak to the editor if he's going to look at that. So a company like Ipsos, which is a global company, and for a company like ours, though we are not registered on the Indian stock, and the companies which are registered on the Indian stock exchange, they get better, listening because, it has a direct impact on their stocks, now negative publicity, positive publicity. For a global company like ours, it is registered on the Paris Stock Exchange. So, it's got a different treatment here, and we're an agency, if you see, per se. So, what is happening now is that there is a new thing, I don't know if you all have heard about it, the distribution is changing. Now, now companies like Cision are coming into play. And journalists are saying that, if your news agencies are not publishing because they don't have the bandwidth. Earlier, journalists didn't have the bandwidth. Now, news agencies don't have the bandwidth because only if a news agency flashes it, then the media publications pick it up. Okay. Otherwise, you just have to keep pushing for your stories. But now what is happening is there are these new boutique companies emerging, global companies called distribution companies, which distribute your press release. They just flash it on these wires for news wires, and then they pick it up like PR Newswire and Cision. So a global company like Ipsos, we are also now going to tie up with Cision. And Cision will flash our news press releases to journalists depending on the beat they write on, and then, whether they pick it up or not, that's up to them. So the whole dynamics post-pandemic has really changed. Did you all also see any differences post-pandemic in your story pickup or nothing?
Digital consumption has increased. So the way we actually
Yes.
distribute news has actually changed dramatically.
So how do you
since-
distribute now?
Owned and on using digital and social. Social, in
Oh.
fact, Instagram,
But
YouTube
the
has
conventional
become-
media is very, very
Yeah.
Yes,
think
conventional media has been heavily impacted
Conventional
for sure.
media is like very cagey, not cagey, but they're very selective.
But like
and
you
they-
said, in the case of listed companies
Yes.
like us, the
Yeah.
relevance has become even more. And it is being carried very widely in print, in online,
Yes,
because the perception with traditional industries and manufacturing continues to be
Yes,
traditional.
yes.
Is the fact that if you have to buy space, you're advertising, you're not doing PR. PR has to be organic, it has to be free of
has to
cost,
be
it has to be
organic.
picked up by journalists who are covering your beat. And beat still remains a reality in papers.
Absolutely.
So for us, traditional media is still very, very relevant, whereas for Cast 24 and MamaEarth, I understand it is almost redundant.
Not really. It is still important to
I
us
think
because
for
I
all
think
of us, yeah.
credibility of traditional news is still very, very high. But again, because of democratization that
Yes.
digital has brought in, proliferation of course has increased. But again, your channels have also increased exponentially.
Right.
I think that also
So,
depends on the
yeah.
strategy that you have for yourself, right? Like, what is it that you want to communicate? Once your communication is ready, once your messaging is ready, it'll be easier for you to even pick up the channel that you would want to be in and where you would like to, give in your maximum effort in.
Yeah, that
right?
is for one-on-one stories that media will always be interested in because they ask for a scoop. I know Prasad of Economic Times of Brand Equity, the first thing he asks me, are you giving it to me exclusively? So, that is not, we want mass coverage. But I think now what has also changed globally, my global CEO says, I'm not looking for quantity, I'm looking for quality. So that has also changed now. Earlier we were, how did we measure PR? Now we'll come to measurement also. So for a global company like Ipsos, how do we measure PR? We look at media mentions, only media mentions. But I remember when I was with a PR company and I was handling clients like Apollo Tyres, Shaw Wallace and ITC. At that time, I had to, measure using ad rates. So it's column centimeters into ad rates. And then we'll say we have given you this much crore worth of press coverage. And does it, so that is how, at that time, we used to do when I was with a PR company. And that's how we used to tell them. And they used to say, oh yes, we have got some. Had we expended in advertising, that's the kind of money we would have had to shell out. So, it's really changing. So how do you measure in your companies? Do you measure PR differently?
We definitely try to measure it differently, but again, it's a burning question which we don't have an answer to just yet.
Right.
It is a question we are trying to look for answers. We are hoping that in the coming times we'll have answers, but yes, we're definitely not going by the traditional ways and means of looking at PR.
The column centimeter and ad rates?
Yes.
So we are doing that, and my agency is right here. I was looking at them and smiling because I ask for those reports every month. But what I have started also asking for is specialist ways and mechanisms in which you can also measure the intangibles, reputational
Right.
analysis.
Yeah.
There are a lot of research firms are doing, you're one of them.
Yes, yeah.
And
Ipsos is
now
doing.
how do you calculate the intangibles? But that
Yes.
said, I agree with Tripti, a lot still remains to be measured. There are
Yes.
emotions and feelings involved. There is reputational imagery involved that you possibly cannot measure.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I also think that there are certain tools that have been
Okay, so this is the buzzer we have 5 minutes left. So quickly tell us.
So yeah, so I was saying that there are tools that have been introduced, and it's not about that. Obviously, we cannot measure some parts of the PR, but yeah, there are some parts that can be measured also. When it goes, since we are shifting towards digital, and when it comes to digital, everything can be measured online. Anything you put online, be it social media, your views can be measured, right? Your promotions, everything you are promoting, maybe a story or a post, you can see the likes you are getting out of it. So it's like some part of it remains intangible, but there are some parts that can be measured.
Yeah. And you know what, I've also seen that, there are people are using podcasts a lot more, writing blogs, writing byline articles to promote thought leadership. So those are some of the new areas people are doing, to really elevate the brand image and reputation of their companies. Now I'm going to come to the last part now, which is measurement. I think we more or less covered. We look at now, everyone is talking about AI. So what about AI and PR? Are you all using any kind of AI and just kind of automating? Because I know my global CEO has said that I don't want to people, though the writing we still have to do. But one more thing I want to talk about, PR people is that, we do all the writing. We put all the thought in it, which the company is not recognizing. I think PR really needs a better place in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
I think all the quotes of the CEOs for which, they get seen and heard, that is written by people like us specialists. We really do so much work, but we do not, I think it's over. But, but I think now we are also using a lot of AI. We are using a lot of AI because, like distribution, we have a tool called Marketo. So we just send press releases to media, we're going to start doing that. And what about you? You also are going to use AI and then we'll just finish it. So, so the future is bright for PR because PR is very important to tell the companies their stories, to give visibility to their brands, and of course, to grow the business. And so what about you then? What about this future for you? Any one tip on future for your companies where you see? And then we wind up. I think we are really.
I think we're really out of time.
So,
future for
so
PR is very bright. Yes, future for PR is very bright, and we need to end with.
So thank you for being a great audience. I don't see a very large audience, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Once again, please give it up for the entire panel we had with us. This was a beautiful, insightful discussion.